Greetings, everybody. Peace. It's Monster Monday. So let's talk a little bit about the monsters we're going to look at. We're actually looking at some alien races out of space. But, they can count as monsters. Worst real-life scary stuff I've dealt with have been other people. So, that quote about, real monsters are real. They just turn out to be people. Yeah, that's a thing. That's really a thing. So there's several ways you can go about doing the stuff. You can have your genetically changed humans, and all your sentient species are that, and they look totally different, and they have totally alien cultures, which can be really fun. All right, it really can be. Or you can go with, okay, everybody's kind of just normal human, or you can have a mix of that previous concept with the aliens, that are actually aliens. But I wanted to share a few things. So they have a little advice about creating aliens in the book, and maybe I'll go over that another time. But what I want to look at their samples. And keep in mind, this is a 3rd edition book, and I don't know if these are in the 4th edition book. I'm assuming that they put out a 4th edition space book. I haven't looked, but they probably did. And I don't know if they maintained these or if they added new ones. I just don't know. I do know there's changes in the GURPS system, though, because I've been looking at how to convert from 3 to 4 to get an idea about what's been changed in 4 and how it would affect using material from 3rd edition, like if I wanted to update. Okay. Don't know if I want to update. There's some of the changes I like, which I could implement, not a problem. And others I'm like, well, why do I want to do that? So I have to read more about what I'm looking at to come to a decision on that. But for Monster Monday, let's have a look at some of our aliens. So the first one up is this little guy here. He's kind of cool and weird looking. Let's see what they tell us about him. Well, they named him Sporeels, if I'm saying that right. Or are we supposed to roll the R's? It's a double R. Sparrials? Could. Okay, anyway, 0 points from the GURPS system for making it. But let's learn about them. They are small, vaguely feline race, descended from tree-dwelling predators. They are bipedal. Their hands have 4 skeleton opposable fingers with retractable claws. They are sleekly furred. Most coats have varying patterns of brown or rust color, but albinos are relatively common. The mouth is the most alien feature. Okay, let's see what this has to say. Closed does not look unusual, but it contains several fleshy organs and a grid of rough, serrated bone that serves as teeth. Well, that's different. Sparrials are native to a 0.95 G terrestrial world with an average temperature of 65 degrees. That would be Fahrenheit. Cool by human standards, however, they have a wider temperature tolerance than humanity. They can live anywhere a human can. They breathe a standard Terran oxygen mix at 0.97 atmospheres. Advantages and disadvantages. Sparrials have a strength -3, health +1, and dexterity +2. They automatically have the advantages of night vision, acute taste and smell, +2 and +3 to detect lies. Versus humans. Sparrials are the most, and most other races, they can smell fear. If they take a round to prepare using step and concentrate maneuver, they can make leaps twice their normal jump distance. They have a racial disadvantage of kleptomania. Stealing small personal objects is a common form of Sparrial competitiveness, gluttony, and stubbornness. A Sparriel has a normal height and weight by human standards for its strength. Psychology. They are active and adventuresome, but can be very patient when there is need. They tend to be quarrelsome among themselves until a pecking order is established through argument, battle, or clever thefts. Sporeels steal from those around them in much the same way humans trade quips and insults to establish dominance and show their own worth without combat. Sporeels react very strongly to smell. They dislike some races and like others purely on the basis of odor. Human scent varies wildly. In Sporeel view, the first time a human meets a Sporeel, roll one die, subtract 3, record the result. This determines how the Sporeels like his odor. That is the reaction bonus or penalty to that person thereafter. They have 2 sexes. The males are slightly smaller and faster than the females. So that gives you some interesting things to look at. They could be in direct competition with humans for similar planets, for example. And you best smell good. So hygiene would be a very big issue between humans and Sporeels in how the human smells, and the things the human puts on, and the So yeah, that could be actually very interesting to role play. Okay, the Pachekki, Pachekki. But there's Pachekki is probably how I would pronounce it. Pachekki. 0 points again. The Pachekki's ancestors are amphibian and omnivores. Let's take a look at them. So the first race is going to be meat eaters. They're going to be wanting to taste all the meat. These guys are omnivores. Okay, I mean meat and vegetables. Okay, living in the branching vegetation of a freshwater sea. They're upright bipeds like men, but they are nothing like terran life. One detractor called them bastard offsprings of bugs, lizards, and crabgrass. With their lipless mouths, bulging insect eyes, and hair of waving auditory palps, they look rather awful. Their hands are their most human feature, but they have 6 fingers and a thumb, so they have 8 digits. So their math system might be 8-based or 16-based. Environment. Pachy-Kiki are native to the watery 0.7 G greenhouse world with an average temperature of 100 degrees Fahrenheit. Very hot by human standards, they prefer a humid oxygen atmosphere with atmospheric pressure 1.2 times Terran standard. This is rare in a low gravity world, so the Pachy-Kiki will find perfect planets rare and will lay strong claim to them, so they'll probably be willing to fight over that world. Advantages and disadvantages. Pachy-Kiki get strength -4, dexterity +3, health +2, IQ subtract 1, and -1 to basic speed. They have the advantages of peripheral vision, rapid healing, and double jointedness. They also get +3 to swimming ability. Their racial disadvantages are weak hearing and -5 to all hearing rolls and split personality. See below. Something interesting. By human standards, they are very unattractive. -2 on reactions. They are tall and slender, a foot taller than normal humans for strength and 20 pounds lighter than human normal for their height. Pachy-Kiki also have the limited regeneration ability. They can regrow a lost finger, eyes, palps, and other small body parts. Lost limbs, however, do not regenerate. Psychology. The average Pachy-Kiki is not very bright, but there are a few smart ones that become explorers and leaders. Underling Pachy-Kiki are not slaves or drones, but they will follow their smarter leaders with a matter-of-fact loyalty that Terran rulers envy. So super loyal. Pachy-Kiki are very interested in technology and biotechnology. They work hard to shape their environment to fit themselves with access to genetic technology. They'll work just as hard to shape themselves to other environments. As a race, they are somewhat jealous of species that can use the more common type terrestrial planets. So it gives you an idea of things they might be working towards. They are bisexual, but each individual changes sex in response to random environmental stimulus. A Pachy-Kiki character rolls one die each day on a 6. He becomes she, or vice versa. A male Pachy-Kiki has additional trait of laziness. A female is impulsive and generally hyperactive. Sexes are not otherwise distinguishable without dissection, except to another Pachy-Kiki. Pacheki government tends toward collective leadership to balance the effects of sex changes on individual leaders. So there's something fun to role play. You rolled a 6. Quick, start acting different. All right, then they have 2 more, the tree folk and the gromolites or shaggies. These actually cost points, so we'll take a look at those next time. So what's some of their advice on creating aliens? Let's take a look. Charisma always works, so that's your force of personality. So they're giving that the intelligent sentient being's force of personality isn't going to be affected. That's universal. But voice, good looks, etc., rarely work. They want your aliens. Few aliens will notice physical beauty in a human, and probably vice versa. Aliens will have racial likes and dislikes. Aliens may not want the same things Terrans do, humans. Aliens may like and dislike different things about individuals. These Sporeels are an example. Features, things to consider. What's their native society like? What's their physical appearance like? Means of communication, sexuality, and all those things will affect each other when you start creating an alien race. Usually you start with some kind of idea, and then you build off of that idea and start thinking about these kind of things, and then you amplify it. All right, expand on it. I've done it. I took an idea from an old sci-fi film, really bad Italian one, but I love it anyway. And I made a variant human race, alien race, in one of the games I played, and based on what the plan of the evil guy, the bad guy in the movie was up to, and had they succeeded. I went with, what if they had succeeded, the good guys lost, and these guys got away with their plan? What would that society look like? And I built out, and I started thinking about everything that the movie did show about how the creator of this new race of superhumans would have thought, and what they were trying to achieve. And there's a reason why they're not regular humans. They're not even, don't even think like Germany. Don't even think like that. This would freak out the Germans in World War II. Trust me. So it freaks out, when you start reading what they were when I put them together. Because it did get published. The editor reading it was getting upset until he realized every possible sacred cow, from no matter how you looked at it, socially, and then you get into the politics too. But the concepts there was being slayed in the creation of what these things would, what this particular group of potential NPC planet and society would be like, how they would think. And it's a way of thinking that nobody would be cool with. Nobody, right? Who is just a normal human, you know? No, I don't want that, you know. So when he had other people look at it, and they kind of went through the same thing, and then but by the time they got to the end, they were like, oh, she nailed everybody. she found all her little buttons, you know. And so I call them my space creeps because they make good space creeps. That's what they are. But I took the concept that somebody else wrote up, and then I expanded it out into if they'd been successful, if they had created the society and changed themselves the way they wanted to change themselves, what based on the movie, what would that look like? And they would be serious space creeps. True space creeps. But that's what you do. You take something and you start working it. How is this different? How do they eat? What do they eat? How do they reproduce? You know, you have to answer all that, because I had to come up with answers for all that for these guys. Yes, my space creeps. I don't know. I don't know if they'd get me in trouble today. I have no idea. You know, I just can't. I can't worry about that stuff. I've given up worrying about that stuff. But I think they make great space creeps. And if you want to play them, they make great characters to play too, because their whole thought process is going to be different than the rest of the, you know, if they're part of a crew, let's say, mercenaries or ship crew, whatever, hiding and they have to hide. They're true identities. If you're playing with these guys, their whole thought process for doing something is going to be completely different than the majority of the races in this game, including the other humans. They just have a completely different system of values than everybody else. I put some thought into them. So they would be good space creeps, even if they're on your side. But that's what you got to do. You got to put thought into the aliens. You know, you're going to bother to make a culture, make a society. It applies to smaller things like kingdoms, tribes. You know, you have roaming around down in the dungeon, down dark, or wherever, floating on the islands and so on. Like I did a whole thing with dwarves that was different. I've done dwarves different twice now than what the standard background is that you get in fantasy. The thing is, you've got to think these things out. How they're going to be different. How are they not going to be more of the same? And really, give them life. Think about their cultures. Think about their goals, their motivations, how they were raised, what their their preconceptions, their just prejudices, if you will, their biases, and that gives you your standard. And then if people play them, they have an idea to work off of, and then be different from as well, which might be why they're adventuring, is they don't fit well in their normal society. Might be why they're hanging out with humans instead of more of whatever they are. So, and then when they come in contact with their species, there's a conflict there often. For the player character versus the NPCs. So it's something to think about. And the same can apply to the humans. What if it's a human in the mainly alien society? Why? So when you create species, when you create races, when you create cultures, why are they different? you have to ask yourself a lot of questions, and you build on that. We will do the other two, which actually cost points in the future here. The tree folk and the gromolites or shaggies. I actually remember the shaggies quite well. And I remember the amphibian dudes too, because they had such a cool picture. I always thought they were cool looking. You know, make those aliens look alien. It looks alien. So we'll do more stuff. GURPS rules have changed. I mean, 20 years ago they changed. But I just never got the new stuff. So now I'm starting to get probably will be picking up the new stuff, and they'll probably come out with 5e. But yeah, I've been looking at the changes they made. There's a little conversion chart that gives me an idea of what changes they've made versus what I have, and I'm like, on the changes, I'm deciding. But something to think about. Something to think about for pre-existing races, even. Like I said, I've changed the dwarfs twice when I've played, D&D. I've got an Oriental Adventure dwarf right up. It is different on the Kora Bokaru dwarves, and how I see them, and how they fit into the bigger picture, and how they are different. And that's for an Asian predominant campaign. Culture-wise, it's Asian centric completely. And if they do run into, when they do run into Europeans, they're the barbarians. So when I was doing that, and then the other version, humans, dwarves, halflings, gnomes, they're all related. And the half-elves are related to humans too, but they're all genetically manipulated, engineered, and developed, except for the standard human, which would be root stock. Even the orcs fit in there. So they're basically all variations of humans. Dwarves are clones. Started out as clones. That's why dwarf women are rare. They had to create them to solve their problem that they were going to become an extinct race. And that's why the dwarf women have beards. I have a whole logic behind the dwarves. The elves are aliens. The half-elves don't even have any elf in them. They have been genetically engineered to look like elves and have elf traits. They had them genetically engineered. The elves did that. But everything's so messed up on the world, nobody knows their origins for real at that point in time. That they discover bits and pieces. And that's how I got that setting going. So, and that was the idea. It all started with, what if dwarves were clones? That's why they're mostly dudes. And then what would that mean if all of your technology and everything collapsed, and now you just can't clone people easily. It's very hard. Everything's starting to malfunction, fall apart. There isn't the technology available. How do you save your people? So they had to, they developed women. They did, genetically engineered, and things went wrong, and yeah, it explains a whole bunch of stuff in the game, in my setting. But that's an example of taking stuff and playing with it and changing the backgrounds. And on the surface, it looks like your standard fantasy AD&D. But in reality, half-elves only come from half-elves, and nobody knows why. Okay, things like that. Whereas orcs, humans, dwarves, and gnomes, and halflings, they can actually all interbreed with various results. So Even the half elves can interbreed with some various with the humans, but they can't. They can't. Half elf to elf doesn't make babies. So it's a very very different kind of setting that I came up with at that particular moment in time. I just wanted to change. I wanted to change something in the fantasy setting, and so I did. It all started with dwarves, and then it kind of like snowballed. Well, what about this? What about that? So, things to think about for Monster Monday: societies, cultures, player character races, non-player character races. How are you gonna present them? What little silly idea do you have in the back of your head? Well, jot it down. You don't have to flesh it out right away. I didn't like flesh out all everything I just told you about the dwarves being clones, particular setting. That didn't happen right away, but I had the idea. I put it down, and then what it meant for them, and then gradually I thought about everybody else, and gradually they got worked in. And then the same with Korobokaru. When I changed them, I did a lot of background work on them. They are quite unique when I pull them out to play. Same with Dragonborn in that setting. Very unique. Same with all the dragons. They're not at all like you would imagine the normal D&D dragons. So, at any rate, because you start changing one thing, it always ends up to change other things. But it makes your setting unique. It gives you good potential villains. I mean, the Pachekki, they're going to be thieves. And they're going to see stealing differently. But they're going to be master thieves in a lot of cases. And, you know, they want those particular worlds. They're gonna fight. You know, crook or hook, they're gonna get those planets. So, there you go. You got stuff to work with. Anyway, everybody have a great Monday. I don't know if I'm going to do a live feed. What I'm going to do. Last night was weird. None of the animals slept. The kids weren't sleeping right. I didn't get no sleep right. So it's been a crazy day already. Anyway, everybody have a great day. Like, subscribe, comment, and take it easy. Peace.